And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talking Live with Macy. So, during this time, I'm sure many of you are trying to get in. I believe Facebook has actually switched their interface quite a bit. So, during this time, while we're waiting for 15 people to join the stream, please share this session, share this video if you're a caregiver to someone who lives with diabetes, or if you have diabetes yourself. So please share this video. I believe it's very beneficial because our special guest here can answer all of your questions. And it's always during the live stream that we can answer your questions. If it's after, I see all of you putting in questions after that, and we cannot answer them because it's very hard for me to get the doctors back and also to ask for their time. So please share this video right now. It looks like there's 15 people and more already, so we're going to officially begin. I do hope that you're getting your friends and family who have diabetes, or people who are living with diabetes, to join the stream right now. So welcome to Talking Live with Macy. Today's topic is on diabetes management and the role diet plays in diabetes management. Particularly today, we talk about diabetes because in the month of November, it's Diabetes Awareness Month. So I believe in my postings, I've mentioned many times that diabetes is actually a huge thing in Malaysia because 1 in 5 Malaysians develop type 2 diabetes. And diabetes is associated with obesity, especially in the abdominal area. There are also complications which are associated with diabetes, such as for the eye, the foot, and things like that. But of course, I'm not an expert. I'm not an endocrinologist either. So, someone who manages diabetes. I'm just a caregiver. So we have a special guest today here with me who is on the show, and I was so happy to meet her during a live session which I hosted, and she was there as the special guest. So I got her on Talking Live with Macy. I'm so happy about that. So she's Dr. Lee Ching Li. She is a dietitian herself and the IMU program director for diabetes management, as well as education. So she's here right now. She's very, very fun to listen to, and she's got a lot of experience and knowledge to share with all of you. So, hi, Dr. Lee.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming live. I hope what we are doing today will really help you, or perhaps your family member or friends who have diabetes.
Yes, we do hope that we could help a lot of your friends, your family member, or yourselves. So diabetes is hereditary. I know that thanks to my mom. And I'm sure Dr. Lee will also mention it. So Dr. Lee, can I dive straight into the questions? Before that, to all of you who are watching right now, I think it's time for you to put in your questions so we can pick them up at the end, and we don't have a backlog of questions. I think you should start asking questions now. So Dr. Lee, I'm just going to jump into the questions for you. What is diabetes in layman terms, and what does it do to our bodies?
So I'll answer the first question first. What is diabetes in layman's term? And then move on to what it does to our body. Diabetes is a condition in the human body. Yeah, of course, it can happen to animals as well, but we're going to talk about us as humans, where two things happen. Okay, firstly, it has got to do with the pancreas. So your pancreas is a little wee tiny organ. It looks like a leaf or down in the pokok, right? And it sits just behind your stomach. And the pancreas produces a hormone called insulin. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And insulin helps your body use sugar. Okay, your body needs sugar as a form of energy. So in diabetes, this pancreas can maybe not produce insulin, or maybe it doesn't produce enough insulin for your body's needs. Okay. The second thing that can happen in diabetes is that even though your body produces insulin from the pancreas, sometimes your body doesn't use it as effectively. So it doesn't respond too well to insulin. So when you have both of these conditions together, Say, let's just say after eating. I don't know, what did you guys eat for lunch today? Say if you had chicken rice, or if you had nasi lemak, or if you had noodles, right? So some of the sugars from the carbohydrate-rich foods after eating will be digested and then released as sugars in the blood. Remember, your body needs sugar as a form of energy, just like your car needs petrol, right? But with diabetes, what happens is that your body doesn't produce enough insulin, so your cells can't absorb sugar from the blood as quickly. Or if your pancreas is producing enough insulin, your cells are a little bit, I call them sleepy. They don't respond as well to insulin. So when insulin tells your cell, hey, there's food already in the blood, there's sugar in the blood, open up, get the sugar for your energy, the cell sort of responds very slowly. And when that happens, your blood sugar starts to go up gradually. And that's when we say somebody has diabetes. All right. So the second question would be, what happens, with diabetes? So actually, if we manage diabetes well, all right, you can live a long life with full good quality, right? But if we don't manage it well, what happens is that the excess sugar in the blood can cause a lot of damage. For example, let's just say if you think about your favorite sugary drink, syrup bandung, something sweet, right? Okay, if you accidentally spill that drink onto a table and you leave it there for a while, it gets a little bit sticky, yeah, right? So excess blood sugar in the blood, okay, can get like that. They call it glycosylation, okay, or glycation. It can start to stick to all the parts of your body and then cause damage. So that's why we have to manage diabetes. Make sure that the blood sugars are not persistently high to prevent all the damage that can come from this extra blood sugar.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's really good explanation. Thanks, Dr. Lee.
Welcome.
I know a lot of you have people who live with diabetes. Please share them with them this video right now with them. I know that Facebook didn't give a notification from my understanding. I just got a few messages, so please share them. This is a very important video. Please share it with them so they can come in, tune in, and ask questions. So I'll continue on. My next question for Dr. Lee is, how do people living with diabetes manage it?
Okay, good question again. And I like that when you ask how do people living with it manage diabetes. And it's very important if you have diabetes, okay, or if it's just, and especially if it's a recent diagnosis, maybe you just found out you have diabetes, it is normal to feel upset. It's normal to be in shock, or it's also normal to feel angry. Sometimes you ask, why me? Or sometimes you go, I don't think it's really happening to me, okay? But whatever it is, do not let diabetes define you as a person, okay? You are not diabetic, okay? You are, say, a woman, you're a man, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a teacher, you're a business owner with diabetes, living with diabetes. But you also live with your business, you also live with your work, you also live with your family, you also live with so many things, right? And and it's how you manage those things that make you who you are. So with diabetes, you can also manage it. You have to have the right perspective, reframe your mindset. This is something, just one part of my life I can manage. And research has shown that there are 7 what we call self-management behaviors that people with diabetes need to practice. And if you can practice that, you can actually manage diabetes very well. So what are these 7 self-care behaviors? 3 of them have got to do with 3. Okay, I'm very bad at mathematics. I'm not a mathematician. So 3 of them has got to do with your lifestyle. Okay, so you've got to eat right. You've got to get enough exercise in. And if you have diabetes, sometimes your doctor will give you a medication or a few medications. You need to take your medications. Remember, we said the pancreas may not be producing enough insulin and your body may not be using it as well. So medication actually helps that aspect. Okay. So after doing all 3, the 4th care is something very important. You need to monitor what's going on, because we are changing the way we eat, or we're changing the way we exercise, or we're using certain medications. It is normal to find out or ask, is this working? Because diabetes is very personalized. Different people react differently. Different people, it progresses differently. So you have got to find out what is going on in your body, because you can't really feel high blood sugars. You can't see the damage it does, right? So one way is to monitor your blood sugar levels. So there are a lot of kits out there you can just buy. They're called glucose monitoring kits. They come in all small. They look like, I'm not sure if the younger viewers know the pages. I used to have a pager when I was really young. I think you know my vintage when I say this. So a little small machine where you just do a small prick on your finger, and then it looks at how high your blood sugar is or how low your blood sugar is, so you can actually manage it right. And if you have diabetes, it's also important to monitor two other things besides blood sugar. The second thing is your blood pressure. So with blood pressure, you can also get your own home blood monitoring machine to measure that, and also your blood cholesterol. That one you probably will have to go to the pharmacy or to a doctor's clinic to get done. Okay, because diabetes will affect all these three areas: your sugars, your cholesterol, also your blood pressure. So that was the fourth self-care behavior. So after you learn how to see what's going on, the other two behaviors, so behavior number 5 and 6, is about how you live with diabetes throughout the day. The first one would be problem solving. Let's just say you prick your blood sugar after eating a meal and you think, hey, that's supposed to be a healthy meal. And you notice, oh no, your blood sugar has just gone up quite high, right? So what are you going to do next? So these are what we call, you have to develop problem solving skills. How do you develop that? You can either read more, talk to your diabetes educator, talk to your dietitian, talk to your endocrinologist, your doctor. We even have psychologists who are in the team. Talk to your psychologist. How do you manage that problem? Okay, right? And then the fifth one is just coping with daily life. Because let's just say if I have to manage diabetes, that's not the fifth behavior, isn't it? What behavior was that really? Yeah? I had food, I had I had exercise, I had
Exercise.
medication, I had monitoring, yeah, problem solving. Yeah, so now the sixth one, sorry, I always lose count, is how do you cope in daily life with diabetes? So say, for example, if you've fallen sick on that day, your blood sugars might go high. Or if you go on a holiday, now how do you manage? Oh yes, of course you have to manage your diabetes even though you're on a holiday, right? So how do you do this? Or if you have high work stress, how do you do this? And the final 7 care behavior is to practice reducing risk, because with diabetes, if it's not managed, if it goes on, your risk for certain problems like eye problems or nerve problems or kidney problems go up. So you need to make sure you schedule at least yearly health checkups with your healthcare provider. And there's something called foot care. You have to look after your foot very well. Make sure that, because sometimes with diabetes, if your blood sugars are too high, even if you have a small cut on your feet, you won't feel it. And if you don't feel it, it could fester and can get worse. So you got to make sure you look after your feet very carefully and go for your health checkup. So those are the 7 things you can do to manage diabetes yourself.
I really like the 7 self care tips. I hope you guys took it down. Um, all right, my next question is, obesity has been linked to the development of type 2 diabetes. So when I say obesity, especially the area around your tummy, it's big, it's filled with fat. But there are people who are thin yet have diabetes, as it is inherited. How do you then control it if you're already thin?
Mm. Good question also. So for the vast majority of people with type 2 diabetes, right? Most of them, say about 80% of them would have obesity. So for them, if you do have, let's just say you realize I've got diabetes, and yes, I've gone from an M to an L to an XL pens over the years. The best thing you can do for yourself to manage diabetes is to lose some weight. So you watch your food, go for exercise, because when you start to lose that belly fat, your body uses sugar much better. Remember, I said diabetes is about 2 things. One, the pancreas not producing enough insulin. This is in type 2 diabetes. The other, your body not responding well enough to insulin. So the obesity makes your body not respond well enough to insulin. It's a term we call insulin resistance. Some of you might have already read about it or heard it. So if you have obesity, lose weight, lose up to 5 to 7% of your body weight to help your body use sugar more effectively. Now, for those of you who have type 2 diabetes and you say, my BMI is fine, my waist circumference is fine, I don't have a problem with visceral obesity, what else can I do? Then you got to look after your pancreas. I mean, people with obesity also have to look after your pancreas. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas is not producing enough insulin because, how would I say, it's a little bit tired, it's a bit tired, fatigued, so it doesn't produce as much insulin. So you don't want to, load it. You don't want to overburden it, right? Let's just say if I know my pancreas is already tired, I'm not going to go out there and eat 5 bowls of sweet sugary kuehs, because then when you do that, you're basically telling your tired pancreas, hey, you work more, produce more insulin. I don't care how tired you are. So if that goes on persistently, one day the pancreas is going to say, you know what, I give up. I will not produce any insulin at all. The pancreas is like, it's a living thing, like us. It gets tired, it grows old. So you've got to look after your pancreas. And how do you do that? You watch your food. You have to watch your food. Where do you get outside external source of sugars? From your food. You got to exercise. Whether you have obesity or you don't, when you exercise, your body is able to use sugars better, more effectively. That's proven in studies, right? And talk to your healthcare provider. Always review your medications. There are new medications out there that might work differently. Different medications work in at different parts of the body to help you manage diabetes. You may find a treatment regimen that best suits your lifestyle and your condition. And that is how somebody with diabetes who does not have obesity manage diabetes. Did I answer the question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you did. Especially if they are thin. So the next question, I think this one everyone applies to everyone.
Mm,
Many people think that carbohydrates needs to be avoided at all costs if you
mm.
have diabetes. First,
Mm,
is that true? If not, how do they incorporate carbohydrates into their diet?
mm. So carbohydrates, if you eat it, right, when you eat it, it is digested, it will be converted immediately into blood sugars. So the natural logical reaction would be, if I want to control my blood sugars, then I might as well not eat any carbohydrates, like zero carbohydrates. Do you know that this was the case with type 1 diabetes many, many years ago? Way before they found insulin, people with type 1 diabetes. I think back then there was very little type 2 diabetes because people exercise, they didn't eat so much, right? So those people with type 1 diabetes, their pancreas completely doesn't produce insulin, okay? They went on a zero carbohydrate diet. It kept them alive for longer. But now with what insulin, with medication, it allows us to free up our diet a little bit more. And for me as a dietitian, that's an important thing. Because when we eat, okay, you must remember, even if you're trying to lose weight, you're not just trying to lose weight. Or if you're eat to managing diabetes, you're not only just trying to lower sugars. Or if you're trying to eat to lower your cholesterol, you're not only just trying to eat to lower cholesterol. When we eat food, we eat apple, we eat a bread, we eat rice, we're also eating all the nutrients that come with the food. And our body works, it takes all these micronutrients and the macronutrients, and they work in synergy to help maintain our health. So when we say I'm going to remove a food group from my diet, say let's just say no carbohydrates at all, yes, you'll see a drop in your sugars, but then you do not know how your nutrient status will be affected. You may not be getting the nutrients that you need for the other parts of your body. So the key thing in managing diabetes and allowing carbohydrates in the food, and yes, many studies have shown you can have carbohydrates in your diet. You can manage diabetes with carbohydrates, but you have to watch your portion sizes. So the first thing you need to do is recognize what foods contain carbohydrates, right? So yes, Maisie's going to share some slides with you. For most people, I think you learn in school as well. Carbohydrates are found in things like your rice, your starchy food, potatoes, your fruit, your dairy products, right? Your milk, sugars, quays. You would know that. But Malaysia, we love our food, and our food's just so good. And you know why our food good? Because we have all the mixture of the macronutrients. We have carbohydrates, protein, fat into a meal, and sometimes it can get a bit hidden. The carbohydrates can get a bit hidden. So you eat a food and you think, this won't cause my blood sugar to rise because it doesn't have carbohydrates. But there are carbohydrates in the food. So I've included sort of like 6 pictures up there that sometimes we that makes us have certain misconceptions about carbohydrates. So if you take a look at the Yong Tau Foo, I hope everyone has had their lunch and I'm not making everyone feel hungry right now. Yeah. So if you look at the Yong Tau Foo, you would think, where's the carbohydrate in the Yong Tau Foo? Well, for one, it could come in the sauce if you're going for the sweet sauce, or what the Cantonese call the tim chiong, the sweet sauce. You could have sugars there. But also when you stuff, the stuffing in the Yong Tau Foo, you have fish, right? But it's not going to be pure fish meat. It's fish plus flour, and flour is a carbohydrate source. So you got to realize, okay, if I do eat Yong Tau Foo, it could increase my blood sugar, but this does not mean you can't eat it. It's got other nutrients. Watch your portions. The other one that you see, if you move down the Yong Tau Foo, you see curry chicken, right? Yeah, it's delicious as well. So where is the carbohydrate in this food? And sometimes carbohydrate sneaks into these dishes in the form of potatoes. A lot of my patients, they didn't realize that potatoes are a source of carbohydrates. So whether it's white potatoes, sweet potatoes, if it's yam, any tuber underground root, right, that you eat has carbohydrates. So you got to watch that. And then we have, if you move up again, you have chapati and dal. So for most people, you might think, hey, that is healthy because chapati is made of atta flour, that's whole grain. Dal is actually a good nutrient. It's a legume, and no doubt these are good and healthy food, but they both contain carbohydrates as well. So healthy food like oats, you think oats and fruits, certain vegetables, they all contain carbohydrates. So you've got to eat them because they have other nutrients, but you've got to watch the portion size. Then, of course, you have your fish ball noodles there. Any balls, fish balls, chicken balls, meatballs, they're not pure meat. They could have flour products inside. And depending on how the vendor makes the stock, right? And you can never find the recipe. It's their secret trait, right? Some of them will put in sugar because sugar balances out the taste. So sometimes your blood sugar increase after a meal can differ from one shop to another because of the amount of sugar in the soup. So you got to watch that out. And of course, you have your favorite boba tea. We used to have when you have a new boba tea shop open, you would see a long line of people waiting to get it. Do you know that a small boba tea actually has the same amount of sugar as 5 slices of bread? So that's like more than a meal already, right? And we go, yum, yum, this is good,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. So remember, it's not that you can't. So if you have diabetes, can I have boba tea? If you suddenly crave like that, you can. You got to just watch it, control it, talk to your dietitian, you count the amount of carbohydrates you need, and then you'll find out, okay, I actually can have this amount of boba tea. But then I have to balance my other meal. And then you have there your fruit juices. A lot of people say fruit is healthy. Fruit is healthy. A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, right? But it also contains carbohydrates. Yeah. So you've moved on to the next slide, Maisie, yeah? Okay,
I don't know
do I
whether,
just
yeah, you can continue, or should I ask my next question first? Oh, this is,
um,
yeah, estimating carbohydrates.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
how do you incorporate carbohydrates into your diet?
yes. So first you recognize where they come from. Oh dear, I think I do chat on quite a bit. Then the other thing is after you've recognized carbohydrates, you have to then watch the portion size. So the next question will be, so how much is enough? So we start with snacks first, since it's already 3:53. Some of you may be watching this, enjoying with a cup of tea and your slice of cake. Snacks are like what it's meant to be. They're not mini meals, they're not big meals. So if you have diabetes, you want to make sure your blood sugar is in control. If you have a fruit for your snack, just go for 1 to 2 small fruits. So what's the size of that small fruit? It's about the size of a tennis ball. So I have a tennis ball in front of me, and I actually took a green apple from my fridge, right? Okay, so you see it's about the same size. This is the green apple, this is the tennis ball, okay? So it's about that size, and that's good enough for a snack, okay? If you want to have up to 2 of that, that's enough, that's maximum. Or if you want to go for a local delicacy, a small popiah, or if you have a drink, okay, with a little bit of teaspoonful of sugar or a bit of milk, then maybe just limit your biscuits to 2 to 3 biscuits, not more than that. But when you have a meal, okay, that's where you can have a little bit more, all right? And usually when we eat a meal, let's use the plate. If you see your dietitian, she or he will teach you how to count your carbohydrates. But if you don't have a dietitian, it's okay. You see that picture of the plate in front of you, it says Pinggan Sihat Malaysia. That's the Malaysian healthy plate model. And they have a hashtag that makes sense. It says Suku Separuh. So in Malay, in English, it means quarter, half. So it means you fill a quarter of your plate with your carbohydrate-rich foods like your rice, your noodles, right? Okay, and you fill a quarter of that with your protein sources, so your fish, your chicken, your tofu. Tofu is a vegetable protein source, and the separuh, the other half, you fill up with your vegetables and your fruit. So you actually manage your carbohydrates, but you also get all your nutrients in. So how does it look like? You have a picture of rice and fish and vegetables. So that was a lunch meal that I took early on in MCO days. I packed home, I put it out, took a picture, right? Or if you have chicken rice, that's that. So the fish meal, the lunch with fried fish actually has about a cup full of carbohydrates. It's about 200 mils. It's about the size of my fist. Okay, yeah. And the chicken rice plate is about the size of a Chinese rice bowl. This CRB here means Chinese rice bowl. Okay, right? Um, So you put rice into it and it becomes like this. That's enough rice. That's enough. So if you eat more than that, your body may not be able to clear sugar from the blood as efficiently as it should.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Lee, for sharing about the carbohydrate intake that we need that we should consume, especially for people who are living with diabetes. They always think they should cut out carbohydrates, and clearly it doesn't. They don't need to, based on what you've mentioned. So I know many of you are starting to put in your questions. That's great. We want to answer them. We'll try to answer them in just a couple of minutes. I have 3 more questions. So the next question is, throughout the day, how should someone living with diabetes monitor their blood glucose?
Yes. Okay. So if you just join us, okay, one of the questions that we talked about earlier on in this show was the 7 self-care behaviors that somebody with diabetes should actually embrace. And one of the self-care behaviors is self-monitoring, and you can monitor your blood sugar levels at home. Now, why do you want to do this? Because it tells you what is happening in your body. Number one, it tells you how your body is dealing with the carbohydrates that are converted into sugar from food. So you know whether you're eating too much or too little, or whether the medication you're taking is just enough. Or it could tell you that if I was to exercise after my breakfast, would that actually have an effect on my blood sugars versus if I don't exercise? So you do that. And the other thing, monitoring your blood sugars at home will also tell you how your body is using sugar or producing sugar when you are not eating. You see, our body has 2 sources of sugar from food, and we produce it ourselves as well. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, okay. So sometimes in diabetes, the body produces too much of its own sugar. So self-monitoring of blood glucose will tell you that. So the important rule to remember is that you always need to pair your blood sugar values, okay, before and after. So if you want to know whether your body is producing too much sugars on its own, so you actually what you can do is before you sleep, you prick and you check your blood values, you write that down. So let's just say you say it's about 8 or 9 millimoles, and that's a bit high. Never mind. You go to sleep, you sleep for say 7 hours, 6 hours, you wake up, okay, just before your breakfast. So it's what we call a fasting sugar. You check your sugar again. So this would represent the blood sugars that your body is producing on its own because you haven't
I
eaten
see.
anything yet. Yes. So you take a look at that pair reading, and then you can always bring back that reading to your healthcare practitioner, your doctor, your diabetes educator, your dietitian to see what's happening. The other pair that you do is stuck to your food. So you can either pair it to your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your buffet, your 9-course wedding dinner. Before you eat, you prick, you check, right? After you finish eating, from the prick, 2 hours later, you check again, right? By right, in most people, the difference between the after meal and the before meal should not be more than what 2.7, 2.9, about 3. Let's just round it up to 3 millimoles per liter. So if it's more than that, you know that your body, hey, it's not using sugar as efficiently as it should. So this will be a signal to you to either look at, do I need to change the way I'm eating? Or do I need to change my medication? You know, what else can I do? That is how you
Okay,
can monitor your blood sugars.
that's very insightful.
Mm.
And the next question is, how do we ensure that a person living with diabetes has all the nutrients they need for their body?
Okay, good question. So back to that, back to one of the things we talked about whether carbohydrates are needed in your diet or not. Try not to eliminate any food group from your diet. So if you look at the
I
different
see.
food groups, you have your grains, your tubers, your bread, your noodles, you have your fruits, you have your vegetables, you have your protein sources, you have your fat sources, you have your sugar sources. All of them give you different types of nutrients. In fact, if you want all the nutrients that your body needs, you need a variety of these foods into your diet, right? So try not to eliminate a complete food group because then you're also eliminating certain nutrients with it. Okay, and it's very important and eat according to the portions we talked about just now, right?
Yeah.
Manage your portions, okay? And you must remember, please get your nutrients in, okay? Because I mean, latest research shows that diabetes affects 11 areas. They call it the egregious 11 areas in the body. Your brain is affected by it. Your gut, the health of your intestine is affected by it. And your intestine has a lot of gut bacteria, good gut bacteria, bad gut bacteria, and how we eat actually helps this bacteria grow or thrive. So really get your nutrients in as well.
Okay, thank you. My last question before you take all the rest of the questions. Guys, time to put in your questions. Is what would happen to those people living with diabetes who don't monitor their blood glucose?
Okay. So if you don't monitor your blood glucose and if diabetes hasn't progressed that much, so it's like early stage, you may not see any acute problems, right? Okay.
I see.
But as diabetes goes on, if you don't do anything, you don't manage what you're doing, okay, as your blood sugar starts to creep up, you will notice that your blood cholesterol levels also start to creep up, your blood pressure also starts to creep up, and then that's when you get some what we call complications, okay? If diabetes is quite severe, you have what we call acute complications. So something that can just happen suddenly. Yeah, maybe it's got to do with how your body functions, or it may have got something to do with your medications. You might get into hypoglycemia. That means your blood sugar drops too low, below 4 millimoles per liter. So that is an acute complication. It could put you into hospital. So you got to be aware of that. You can get acute complications if your blood sugars are just so high, up to about 20 over millimoles, right? You have dehydration. It could also put you into hospital. But I think the scariest part about diabetes, but it's manageable. I say scary if you don't manage it, but if you manage it, it's fine. It's just fine. Parcel of the daily life is the chronic complications. Remember, I said how sugar gets sticky if you just pour it the syrup on a table. So again, blood sugars in your blood get like that. They get glycated to certain things, and this is this glycation that causes damage. So over the long term, it's about 3, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, you start to have damage to the different parts of your body that are connected by your blood vessels. So you have two types of blood vessels in the body. Your major blood vessel is what we call the macrovascular structure. So they lead to the brain, they lead to the heart. Okay. So if these are damaged, you get stroke, you get a heart problem. But then you also have what we call your minor blood vessels, as thin as a strand of hair, very thin. You can't even see it on camera now, right? So you get all these little micro vessels or small blood vessels that lead to your eyes, your nerves, your kidneys. And that's why if you don't watch your blood sugars, you get complications to the eyes. Some of my patients, if they don't manage diabetes right, they don't really know because they don't check, but they come and tell me, lately things have been very blurry. I can't see much. I say, oh, you better go for an eye checkup. That this is a complication of diabetes. Or some might say, I feel like my fingers and my toes are a little bit numb all the time. That could be a symptom of microvascular complication. And also, if you notice, if you go for a full blood checkup and they say, okay, your kidney is not working as well as it should, that can also be a complication of uncontrolled diabetes.
I see.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot, Dr. Lee, for answering
you're
all my
welcome.
questions.
You're
So
welcome.
now I'm going to take the questions from the
Yes.
audience. Tapendan asked how to self-examine if one has got diabetes. So I think you mentioned that already, right? Like to monitor their blood glucose levels.
Yeah, but maybe I think Tabentan also might wonder, he might be thinking, or some people be thinking, now, do I have diabetes or not? Okay. Um, Diabetes is what we call a progressive condition. So at the early stages, you actually don't really see many symptoms. You don't. You will feel normal. You will feel like it's okay. You know. So the best thing for you to do is just go for your yearly checkup, get a full blood test done, and say, I want to include my diabetic studies, or I want to include my blood sugar. From there, you will know whether you have diabetes or not. Okay, remember, diabetes in its early stage, sometimes you don't see any symptoms. Now, sometimes diabetes can progress where if the body has just got too much sugar, initially your body will try and get rid of it, but it won't be as effective. That's why your sugars remain high. So you'll find that you are constantly urinating. I wake up in the middle of the night to pee. I pee so many times. And then when I pee a lot, I urinate a lot, I'm thirsty, I start to drink a lot of water. Okay. And if you start to notice the ends are moving towards your bathroom area, what do ends like? Sweet food, right? It could be a signal that there's sugar in your urine. Okay. You might feel tired. So these are some of the symptoms of uncontrolled diabetes. It means your sugars are a bit high. So then go to the doctor, right? And say, I want to check. I don't know whether if I've got diabetes. Just check it out. Don't be afraid. The worst thing that can happen is the doctor will just say, yes, you have diabetes. Then it's just time for you to take charge of it. It's better knowing
I agree.
than not knowing. Okay. Because if it's even it's
Yes.
there, and if I see it's not there, I'm just shutting my eyes and say, oh, it's not there, it's not there. I'm like an ostrich burying my head in the sand. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're stronger. You're a strong person. So get it checked out, and then you decide. If you don't want to do anything about it, it's fine. It's up to you. If you want to do something about it, it's also fine. It's up to you. Go and get yourself checked if you worry, especially if you have family history of diabetes. So you know your parents have diabetes, or your aunts, or your uncles, your siblings. Then you might want to go and check. Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dr. Lee. So I hope that answered your question, up and done. Teresa Ong asked if after fasting the results is 4.7, is this range considered high risk? No, right?
No, 4.7 is fine. If that's your blood sugar, that's good. Anything below 4 is what we call low blood sugar or hypoglycemia. So don't worry,
Okay.
4.7, yeah. But with blood
Okay.
tests, I think this is what I always tell my patients, right? Don't just do one blood test and then if it's all good, right? Then you say, yes, that's me done for 30 years. I'm not going to go back again. You got to do your blood test on a regular interval, once a year, twice a year. I'm not sure the right interval. And you want to look at the changes as you grow older. What's happening to it? Is my fasting creeping slowly up, or is it maintaining? You know what I mean or not? Same thing, is my
Yeah,
cholesterol going up? It is the change throughout time that will
I
tell
see.
you what's happening most than just one snapshot, because you don't know what came before, what's coming next. Okay, so Teresa Ong, if you went for a test, well done. 4.7 is not bad. Yeah.
Yes, I think so too.
Mm.
The next question is from Sansan. She says her blood glucose is 4.9, but in 3 months average, her test results is 6. Basically, I believe a HbC1a. So it's
Yeah.
considered, she asked, is it considered pre-diabetic? And is pre-diabetic a concern?
Okay. Yeah, so we assume, San, that what you're saying is HbA1c lah, we assume.
Yeah,
So I
HB.
think, yeah, when you go for a blood test, okay, before I answer that, so explain a little bit about what these terminologies mean to people listening. If you go for a blood test, they could do a few blood tests, but the common ones, they will do your fasting blood glucose. So they'll tell you, okay, you're going to go for blood test. So the night before your blood test, please don't eat or drink please don't eat anything. You can drink plain water. So that's fasting. It tells you how much sugar your body produces. Okay. The other test they look at is the HbA1c. That's the glycated hemoglobin. Remember how I told you sugar gets stuck on things? It gets glycated. So with the HbA1c, they're actually looking at your red blood cells. The red blood cells is like a donut that's got, but it's got no hole line. It's just like a round disc that's depressed a little bit in the middle. And your red blood cells have a lifespan of about 3 months. So for 3 months, your red blood cells travel around the body. They meet up with your blood glucose, and some of the sugar gets stuck. Maybe it fell in love with the hemoglobin. It gets glycated. And when we look at your average, they're looking at how much of the blood sugar has stuck to your
I
hemoglobin.
see.
That's why you see percentage. Okay, you can different. So I think if I'm not mistaken, about 6 to 6.5 is where you should keep it. Anything higher is going to be a
I
problem.
see. So it's
Yeah.
okay. So
6 should be okay, but we do not know whether that's pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes is a situation where you're not, you don't have diabetes yet, okay, but perhaps your body is already not using insulin as effectively.
I
And the
see.
only way you
Okay.
get to do this is go to your doctor, say, I'm a bit worried, I have pre-diabetes. What can I do? And depending on your other blood test results, the doctor might ask you to go for further tests to just see what's happening.
I
Okay?
see. Okay.
Yeah.
She asked also, is the medicine for diabetes taken for life? And is it non-reversible? Is
Ah,
diabetes non-reversible?
okay. And what are the stages? So diabetes, I said, is progressive, right? It's got your pancreas, right? Um, Even let's just say if all of us lived until we're 200 years old, 250 years old, when we are really old, given our lifestyle, we all most of us might have type 2 diabetes because our pancreas is a little bit old already, ma. So then they don't respond as well. It doesn't produce as much insulin. Okay. So diabetes is progressive, meaning when your doctor says you have diabetes, after time passes by, 5 years, 10 years, it will get worse and worse and worse. Okay. But when you manage it, you're slowing the progression down. So
I
instead
see.
of getting a complication, let's just say if you found out you have diabetes when you're 40 years old, instead of getting complication at 50 years old, you drag it and you get a complication at 85 years old. You know what I mean? you manage it well. So it's progressive. So you can call them that stages, lah, okay? Is it non-reversible? Well, the good thing for people for us out there is that now we have actually studies to show that you can reverse diabetes, but these are basically for people who have diabetes and obesity. Remember, we talked about how your body
Oh,
uses
yes,
sugar,
yes.
right? So in these people with obesity, if they lose enough weight, okay, on average they lost about 15 kilograms. Some of them or most of them manage to either remove medication, okay, or reduce the amount of medication they need to control blood sugars. But of course, remember, they still need to watch what they eat. They still need to exercise. They still need to watch their lifestyle. So in that sense, you can reverse diabetes, but it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of willpower, right? And in those
That I
studies,
mean, but it sounds good being able to reverse diabetes.
yeah. So the people who did that, and they did that in it wasn't in Malaysia. We hope to do a trial here. They actually went on very low calorie diet. So they really were very strict with their diets. So you have to ask yourself whether you can do that first. And I think more importantly, after you have lost that weight, how are you going to maintain it? I mean, weight management is another pet subject that I have. Weight loss is hard enough, but keeping the weight off after weight loss, now that is an even harder challenge. So once you start to go down that road, you must mentally tell yourself there is no turning back. Okay, I am just going to be determined, and I'm just going to keep pushing on and keep pushing on.
Okay, so Paul Lim asks, he says he always has dry mouth, especially when he sleeps in the air-conditioned room, and his blood sugar is slightly high at 6.2. Is he pre-diabetic, and how does he get rid of the dry mouth? He probably thinks it's associated to being pre-diabetic.
Okay, you know what, Paul? I'm not a medical doctor, so I am not sure what really is going on there. But 6.2, if you wake up, yes, that is a little bit, high. Are you pre-diabetic? Do you have diabetes? Why don't you just go and check? Just go for a full blood test. Check it out. Don't worry before that, okay? You know what they say about worrying? Worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair. You move a lot, but you go nowhere, right? So don't sit down there and worry, do I have diabetes or not? Like, just go and get your blood checked up. And in the meantime, while waiting for your results, enjoy life, not too much, okay? Just, live a healthy lifestyle and then wait for the results, okay? Right?
And he asked whether exercise can reduce blood sugar. I think the answer is yes. So he
Yes.
says, if yes, what kind of exercise is more effective,
Okay, so
and the frequency, and how long?
you want to go for, I mean, any exercise is fine. There's some moderate exercise. I think for people with type 2 diabetes, if it's a little bit intense, it's okay. Make sure your blood pressure is fine. Make sure your heart health is fine before you simply embark on an exercise program. But just moving around a little bit more will help your cells suck in that blood sugar. Okay. Now, there are few people I've seen my patients, but they're mainly patients with type 1 diabetes. When they do too strenuous of an exercise, like they overplay tennis, so it increases a bit of the stress in the body, then their liver produces more sugar. So for them, it's
I
very
see.
strange sugar, but it's usually for people with type 1 diabetes. If you have type 2 diabetes, any form of exercise, as long as you get your blood pumping, your heart pumping, you just move
Okay.
around. Walking alone is good enough. There's studies to show that you don't have to run marathons as long as you walk, right? Get your
Okay.
yeah, and it can help
So
you.
Nicholas Yo asks, he says, Dr. Lee, do you recommend a plant-based diet? And are you a
Ah,
meat eater?
there are days I'm a seafood eater. No, I eat all the food I see. There are some days,
Pescatarian. Oh, seafood.
okay, I enjoy food, and I'm quite glad I'm a dietitian because now I know more about the healthy parts of eating. So I'm aware more and I'll control a little bit more. Um, okay, the plant-based diet, Nicholas, doesn't mean that you have to go vegan. Okay, if you look at a plant-based eating pattern, it is not completely vegetables only. It means that the majority of your food comes from plants. Okay, so maybe you can still have fish, you can still have meat, whatever, but you don't have it as much, in big portions. And you have more vegetables, more fruits, more whole grains, more legumes. Okay, but in the plant-based eating pattern, you have the different types of diets. So you have your pesco, like you said, your lacto-ovo vegetarian. So your plants plus lactose milk plus ovo is eggs, but you don't eat any meat or fish. Okay, or you have your what you call your pescatarians, right? So your vegetables, your fruits, your grains, your milk, your eggs and fish that you don't eat meat like that. Or you have your vegetarians, just your vegans, no meat, no fish, no eggs, no milk. Yeah. So plant-based diets in terms of health, it shows that it's actually quite good for us because all your plants actually contains more than just your standard macronutrients or your micronutrients. They contain things that we call phytochemicals or phytonutrients. Phyto means plants. So these are non-vitamin mineral classified nutrients that is good for your body. And many studies have shown that if you follow a plant-based diet, you actually have a better life, you may live longer. If you're interested, you might actually, this is a very old study, but you might actually want to check out the blue zone diets. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Researchers have gone around and they noticed that there are certain parts of the world where people actually live very long, like Okinawa and certain parts of California, and they live very long, they live very healthy lives. So they started to look at what these people were doing, and it was a whole lifestyle, including a plant-based diet. But it was only one out of 9 things that gave them the best life. So you
I
see,
see.
diet, yeah. So don't take diet too seriously. What I got from that study was that I've got to enjoy life. I got to have a good relationship with people around me. I've got to have purpose in my life. So many things. I got to sleep enough for me to really have good health.
Okay.
Yep. Am I
Thanks.
a meat eater? Yes, I do eat some meat, but not a lot. I'm not a high protein. My diet is not high protein. My diet is not ketogenic either.
Okay. That wraps up all the questions and also just in time. Thank you all for your questions and thank you, Dr. Lee, for answering each and everyone's questions today.
You're welcome. Thank you everyone for asking questions, and thank you Maisie for inviting me. Yes.
I guess Yogi may ask, would all last question is, would you say that it applies to a person with type 1 diabetes as well? What all that you have just said?
Okay, let me think. I have to think carefully. Healthy eating principles will apply with people with type 1 diabetes, GIMBO, but with type 1 diabetes, there are certain things that you might want to do differently. And I don't think I can cover it in this short period of time because with type 1 diabetes, you will definitely be on insulin. Okay, so you have insulin to cover your meals, you have insulin to also cover what happens at night, your body production. And so your behaviors might change a little bit, but the 7 self-care behaviors, remember I told you about, that applies
Yeah.
to everyone with diabetes.
I
Okay.
see. Okay,
Yes.
I think that itself is really good. I really like the 7 self-care tips that you mentioned. So for those of you who actually missed out, please scroll back. It was the second question I asked, and Dr. Lee covered it. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee, for answering all of the questions today. Really, really appreciate it. We probably have you back soon again in the next few months to talk about other parts of how diet can help, like for example, cancer patients and stuff like that. So thanks a lot once again, Dr. Lee, and thank you all for all of your questions. And next month is Christmas, so we're gonna have clean gifting. I'm gonna talk a lot about organic beauty products and also what it does to our skin. So, and also there will be giveaways. So please stay with me on Talking Live with Macy. I'm not sure whether we'll start next Sunday, but I will also put up posters. So do wait for the posters on Fridays and Saturdays. So that's when you will know Talking Live with Macy is coming out. So thank you so much for all of your questions. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for taking your time to be with us here.
Welcome. Thank you, Maisie, for the invitation. I enjoyed myself today. And thank you, everyone, for watching and asking your questions. Stay healthy, everyone. Stay safe. Okay, and happy
Stay
Sunday.
healthy. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you. Bye.